Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. As many of our followers can attest that we're a huge fan of getting to the root of your health issues. With Million Markers Detect and Detox Kit, you can receive tools necessary to help you reduce your toxic chemical exposures. This information extremely important for improving your fertility as well as your health. And another new and cutting edge at home testing company or become huge fan of is the ImYoo. So ImYoo couples at home blood collection and single cell RNA sequencing to be used in immunology studies. And this initiative can be very, very beneficial for collecting life-changing and life-saving data. And today we're really glad to be joined by my friend and also ImYoo CEO and founder Tatiana Dobreva to tell us a little more about this really innovative technology and what ImYoo is doing. So I'm gonna. All right. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
I'm super stoked to be interviewing you today because this is like probably the coolest technology and the company I haven't heard for like a long time. So super excited. But before we start, tell us a little bit about your background, like why you started ImYoo.
Yeah, of course. I actually don't think I would have ever ended up here. This is a surprise. If I told my younger self, I think she would be very confused. I always wanted to be an astronaut and go into space and see new planets and discover new life forms. And I was studying to be an aerospace engineer, but during one of my interviews, I ended up in an emergency room and had a slew of health issues, and that was the point where I really wanted to take to participate in improving the healthcare system and giving people the power to monitor themselves, because that was one of the biggest issues I faced. Is doctors would tell me I just have anxiety, or you're fine, or they would tell you different things, and it's like I really wish I could have like a Star Trek tricorder where I can put in myself and see what's going on. And so I really wanted to be part of that innovation. I kind of took a detour. I did work at NASA's JPL on satellites, but during nights and weekends, I spent volunteering at several labs at Caltech because I had no knowledge of biology. And that's where, like, I did data analysis for them and they taught me biology. At some point, I'm like, no, I also want to do experiments. And I went back to grad school and with intention of starting a company. So after 4 years of being there, here I am, started a company.
This is so cool. I think many of our followers and then people who are watching, they can all attest that, we all want to get to the root cause of what's going on. And then we also being told that there's no answers. So I think everyone will be echoing this. We know immune system is really important. So tell us a little bit, what role does the immune system play in our overall health?
Okay, so let's define the immune system first. It has many inspirations of what it wants to be, like a little kid. But right now, what it is it's a at-home sampling kit. It uses this little device here from a company called Your Bio. And what happens is you place it on your arm, you press it, and what you have in there is about 30 microneedles that puncture your skin at 1 millimeter depth. It retracts and it uses suction to draw the blood in. It is genuinely painless after hundreds of people tried it. I don't think I had a single person squirm about it. And so this is a device that we would send at home. A person takes their blood, and then they would take off this tube and then shake it and then send it off to us. And then what we would do on the back end is we would remove the red blood cells, get the immune cells out, and see what's going on in those immune cells. What is your immune system doing at the single cell level? So that's what ImYoo is right now. We're debugging the human immune system through decentralization of these immune studies.
So why is it like debugging the human immune system important to you and to humanity?
Yeah, it's important because as we've seen with COVID, everybody's immune system is very different, right? You can have somebody who has bad health habits and they, ended up having a silent infection, or they had very little symptoms. And then, like somebody I know is very healthy, they exercise, eat all the right foods, and then they end up in the hospital, right? And so there's a clear misunderstanding on how our different immune systems work. And so debugging it is to understand, over time and in response to an intervention, how our immune systems different, how do they respond to these different pathogens and antigens, diets, right? So in order to really achieve personalized medicine, we really need to understand how different immune systems operate.
Yeah, because the immune system really impacts your overall health, and then it's literally governing how you fight disease and how you process these things, nutrients, and all these things are all interconnected.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. So I know that part of ImYoo is doing is you just mentioned about the at-home collection kit, which is like so useful that so now you don't have to go to a phlebotomist or go to a doctor to get your blood draw. And I know you using that blood, and after you process it, you also do single cell RNA sequencing. So tell us like what is single cell RNA sequencing and why this is really important.
Yeah, so single cell RNA sequencing is a pretty new technology. So to explain it, I'm gonna go back to the basics for a second. Let's go back to the DNA, right? So DNA is your blueprint. And I like this restaurant analogy the best. So in restaurant, you have the menu, right? You can order different things, pancakes, bacon, whatever it might be. So I like to think of DNA as the menu, and then you as a person, so in this case, the cell chooses what they want to order. And then from whatever you order, you get your food, and the food is the protein. So you have the menu, which is the DNA. Whatever you order is the RNA, and whatever you get made is the protein. So what we're doing is we're intercepting your order and seeing what you're ordering. And every different cell produces different things. So every different cell is ordering different things, and that's what we're intercepting, which we're intercepting the RNA component. Now, another layer to this is the single cell, right? This is every cell makes different RNA. So current previous methods focused on bulk RNA sequencing, where like they would take all the different fruits and they would mash them together, kind of like in a smoothie. But with single cell, you get to see like what each individual fruit tastes like in terms of the cell.
So why is it really important to see
Yeah, it's really important
how a
because
single cell responds?
yeah, so we have different cells in our body, right? We have kind of like the frontline defenders, and then we have the kind of the generals and the commanders that are architecting, the whole response to the antigens. And since every cell is doing different things, we really want to know what the different cells are doing. When you sample the cells together, you can't really see that signal, right? So if, say, for example, T cells are doing something very particular in case of a disease or response to a diet, you might miss out seeing what they're doing. Because, say, for example, if T cells are making a lot of gene A, and then B cells are not making a lot of gene A, right? It's going to get averaged out, and you get to miss out on that signal.
That's really cool. So ImYoo right now is doing a ton of like patient-led research. Why is that?
The reason we're focusing on patient-led research is because we really want people to have the power to sample their immune system. And we feel like that gets missed by pharma and academia simply because they have different incentives, right? Pharma wants to, give you drugs, academia wants to find new science, but patients really want to know, it's like, why is this drug not working for me? Or, I'm feeling really shitty, but this blood test is telling me that I'm okay, right? So what patients want to know is different, and we really want to we think in order to improve what drugs we give people or what health decisions we make, we need to really answer the questions that patients have. We need to
I
have
love it.
them iterative process, right?
I love it. And then another word to you guys describe it is decentralize the ImYoo studies. So what does that mean? Decentralize the ImYoo studies.
Yeah, I think to define what decentralized means, it's good to define what centralized means, right? Centralized healthcare system is when you go to the hospital, everyone goes to the same hospital, and they give their blood, right? With decentralized, the blood collection comes to you, right? You don't have to go to a central location to monitor your health. You get to do it at home, and then the central facility processes that for you.
Cool. So then what does the one of these ImYoo study with ImYoo look like?
Yeah, so we're currently exploring many different studies because one of our goals is to really enrich our data sets so we can really help people answer these questions. We recently hosted a rheumatoid arthritis workshop and we had patients tell us what was important to them. One of them was, okay, I want to know which biologic will work for me. And sometimes, some biologics works for a person right away, some of them don't. So one of the studies that we're designing is, so the example being, we talk to the patients, we source out the most important questions, then we design the studies around those questions, and then we go to clinicians because we want to make sure that whatever research that we are producing is going to be actionable, is going to be useful. We want clinicians to also approve it and understand it. And then once we've vetted the study designs, we're gonna design it. We're gonna put it up there, and people can join in. And the idea is to be quite inclusive and really hit the blind spots that pharma's not hitting, right? One of the big issues with a lot of these autoimmune conditions is people have comorbidities. So we really want to be more inclusive in terms of who comes into this research as well. Yeah.
That is really cool because I know many of our audience people really want actionable information. So then there's something they can do to improve and optimize their health. So then could someone start their own immune study?
Yeah, that's what we want to empower. That's one of the goals we have. So the initial studies we're going to start with are these more of we're going to do these workshops, and then we're going to hear out what patients want. But we do want eventually we do want everybody to reach out to us to propose study designs. It's like, if you have an idea, tell us. We actually had somebody reach out to us, and so they have this thing called mast cell disease, and they have a twin who doesn't have that disease, and they're like, "Can you do a study on me and my twin? We're gonna go drinking because that's quicker. That's how they get a flare up, and they want to know. It's like, how does my immune system look like before, during, and after drinking, and why is it different in my twin? So that's one of the studies we're considering doing with them.
That is so cool. So then right now, if people want to send you ideas and then want to join your study, how do they do that? Do they just go to your website or how do they do that?
Yeah, they can go to our website. There's a contact us form. They can tell us what they're interested in, what their questions are, what kind of studies they would be interested in participating. We'd love to hear people's stories. What are what are the different immune things that are happening to you that are not being answered? They can also message our Immune Health Instagram or Twitter. We're pretty responsive and engaged.
Cool. We'll make sure we include all that information under the Instagram live post promoting this Instagram live so people will have all the information there. But as you know, we do environmental testing. So one question I have for you is what kind of impact does environmental exposures have on the immune system?
Yeah, so environmental exposure, the way I like to think about it, we as humans have industrialized so many things. Before then, pathogens would be like viruses, worms, parasites, but now we have a lot of these, I would say, synthetic aliens or synthetic invaders, right? Your immune system has to constantly ward off things that it has never seen before, right? Like microplastics and um, pesticides and toxins and things like that. So I would say I don't think we fully understand how those things cause autoimmune conditions, or how they impact your immune system. And that's definitely like a blind spot area that we're very interested in studying.
So how can we better understand these connections then by doing studies? Like what are some current like a gap in research?
Yeah, so NIH has been studying a link between the immune system and environmental exposure for a while. I think they have data over decades of years. So what they do is I think they sample 5,000 people every year randomly, and that one of the things that they noticed is autoimmune conditions keep going up over time. Um, but the thing is, they sample people randomly, right? I think we really need to do is pick a cohort and really follow people through a longer time, right? Because if we really want to see links and how it happens, we need bigger cohorts, but most importantly over time, right? Like,
Yeah,
the person that
absolutely.
you pick randomly from time to time is going to be quite different.
Yeah, we also often talk about a lot of these environmental exposure. Today, we're talking about our very low dose exposures. So you get exposed very tiny amount, not versus, if you have a job that you should kind of expose you to those at the larger amount, you can see the impact a lot faster. So for these low dose exposure, you won't see them until, I mean, years later, you just might not know. So we really need these longitudinal studies. And what we have also seen is like we completely lack of causal studies. So I feel like that's another way, like the longitudinal study will give us a lot more information on the causal front of things.
Yeah, that's the power of million marker ImYoo, right? You guys
Yeah.
measure exposure and we measure the immune system. And one of the reasons we see these things over such a long period of time is sometimes, for example, our fat cells can store some of these chemicals and release them over time. So it's really difficult to keep
Mm-hmm.
the exact exposure. So digging deeper into it with higher resolution, I think we can definitely develop things that will let us detect these kind of things at shorter time frames.
That is so cool. So other than the twin study you just mentioned, what about other studies that you're doing? Tell
Yeah.
us more
So
about that.
yeah, happy to. One of the things that we're seeing a lot of interest in is IBD. So there's a lot of people who don't want to be on drugs and they're coming off of them. And one of the biggest questions that they have is, okay, I'm coming off a drug. Is it safe to come off a drug? Am I good enough to come
Mm.
off a drug? And as they're trying to kind of, assess their remission, they need what they have right now is how they feel, but they don't really have a way to measure themselves internally. What is their immune system doing? Is their immune system ready to come off the drug? So one of the biggest requests getting is, okay, can we develop some sort of immune markers to tell us if the remission is successful? I got off my drug. Is it safe for me to stay off my drug? So that's one study. Of course, there's a lot of interest for long COVID and understanding why long COVID is happening, the biomarkers for that. Um, People want to be believed that they have the disease. Um, I'm trying to think of some of the other ones that are popping up. Yeah, a lot of them. There are some conditions, for example, psoriasis, where um, a portion of population develops arthritis afterwards. So doctors want to know, okay, is this person at risk of developing this? A lot of these things, as you can see, are longitudinal, right? They're happening over time. Another fun one is we're kind of talking about diseases, but also try like we want to enrich our data set to be very diverse, and we want to understand why some people never get sick. So we want to do a study where it's like collect people, sometimes you have a friend or two that say like, I never get sick to anything. It's like, okay, well, let's figure out why, right? Maybe there are things that we can learn from their immune system that we can apply to others to help them out.
This is so interesting. But people right now cannot purchase your kit. They can only join the research study, correct?
Yeah, so we are keeping everything focused on research. So it's kind of science at home. So if people do have things that they want to kickstart, if they have an idea, they should reach out to us. But we really want to make sure that we do things right, that we can deliver people actionable results, and that's why we're keeping it in more of this discovery/research phase before we take it all the way to consumer.
Wonderful, wonderful. So everyone who's watching, be sure to check out ImYoo website and then join one of the study or propose the study that you're interested in and then try out the ImYoo kit because this is gonna be life-changing in the future.
Yeah, we should hopefully have some studies up by the end of September.
Awesome. We're gonna have to invite you back to talk about the specifics of the study so then we can get more people joining the
Yeah,
study.
we'd love to also tell you about like what worked and didn't work. Because
Right.
yeah,
Yeah,
for
that would
sure.
be cool. So thank you so much for joining, and we're gonna see you very soon. But everyone, be sure to follow ImYoo Health. So it's spelled ImYoo Health, all in one words. So you can obviously check out the post linking to this live and follow ImYoo.
Thank you, everyone.
Cool. Thank you. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
everyone.